I'd like to take a few minutes now to explain and to discuss what has become a very relevant and important part of my practice, of how I conduct a session. And that's the use of telepathy as a therapeutic tool in a session. And a few things I must explain about this. First of all, the word telepathy itself, to me, is a misnomer because the word telepathy, by its root, TELE in front of any word, means over a distance. And what we call telepathy, as I've explained before, what it really is and why it works is it's a recognition that there is no separation, there is no distance. It's recognition of being in an all pervasive here with you. Because spiritually and more actually speaking, there's nothing but here. All distance is a projection. Okay, and you can apply that to uh, quantum theory and so forth. But I'm speaking just primarily in terms of in spiritual therapeutic approach to become more whole and to resolve and transcend all your inhibitions, all your negative constructs, or false ways of being, attitudes, and so forth that hold in place feelings you don't want to have. And by the way, to resolve any feeling you don't want to have, feeling by definition is simply something to be felt. And if you're not allowing it to be felt, you're holding it in place in and with you. But that's a subject for other videos I've made. But when I speak about telepathy, I have quite a bit of facility in using this, particularly in sessions with clients. Now, I know that there are ideas and guidelines and recognitions for various approaches to therapy that say don't impose your ideas or your opinions or your evaluations on the person. And I agree with that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not giving my uh, view or or opinion. When in a session, I will start to describe for the person what I'm feeling that is happening within them, because I am feeling what's happening within them. Now, this is not like mind reading. I mean, you can sit there and say, I'm thinking of a number. I'm not going to guess that number. Okay? I'm not a medium, although very commonly in sessions, uh, you're my client in a session and you're speaking about a relationship with someone else and something that's been or that's happening. And I will gain awareness about that other person and their feelings uh, that you haven't had or recognized. That's just a quality or ability that is not so blocked in me. I've noticed this for many years. And sometimes that has relevance in a session. But mostly, essentially, what I'm doing is I'm sort of holding up a spiritual mirror to you as a being so you can more readily recognize what's happening within you. I'm just reflecting. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm reflecting. I'm getting feelings and energies. It's not guesswork, it's not opinion, and it's not through any filter of attitude on my part. And that's why what happens in these sessions, or that's a big part of why sweeping changes happen through a session with me, very usually and commonly, where you are relieved of ways of being that are not who you naturally and wholly are. And you become liberated, spiritual liberation from things that have held you in certain feelings and attitudes and conditions. And that's part of how that happens is to bring out what needs to be processed. I can recognize, for instance, when one of your identities, we all have sort of a closet full of outfits, so to speak, that are formed selves or me's, or ways of being that we've taken on out of feeling a need, out of anxiety or fear about something that we feel we can't have present. And to be present is to have what is present. And we have substitute presences, identities, personas, whatever word you want to use, that encumber us. And we've created or taken them on or had them projected on us, and we act out of them as, and they become the filter, and they become uh, a false representation of self for essentially protective purposes. But anyway, I can see when there's a false self, a me that's throwing out attitudes and feelings that we're trying to process, and it's not going to fully process until we resolve, recognize, and process and digest that self from which these things are being generated, which is not you. That doesn't always hold true for every feeling and attitude you have, but when you seem to keep spawning out related and similar attitudes and feelings, then that is one indication, one representation of one of these selves. And I can feel the feeling or energy of that, the way that feels. I can recognize, sometimes it'll come to me. I'll recognize that the person I'm working with, there's something that happened when you were very young, a very small child, that led you to take on this attitude or feeling. And I can feel it comes from, and sometimes I'll get an exact image of what happened, and I will reflect this back to the person, and they will, it's like the light goes on for them a little bit more. They recognize it, and it helps, and they say, oh yeah, yeah, that's it. And you then more quickly or more efficiently getting the flow of that feeling and processing that, recognizing that, and thus freeing yourself of those things. It only happens through consciousness and recognition. So I'm kind of acting like an amplification of your consciousness or spiritual mirror by reflecting back to you what I'm feeling is happening within you. And I never assumed or foresaw that this would be a direction I'd be taking, like 15 years ago or even 6 or 7 years ago. I didn't see this coming. It's something that naturally developed. I think that generally that happens between people who are close to each other. And, you get very personal, very close in a session when you work with someone for a while. It's that same thing. You notice you kind of have a telepathy with people you're close to. You can feel things before they say them sometimes. You can finish the other person's sentences people say sometimes. It's a reflection of that. It's just you develop more of a recognition and more of a rapport. You're more open to each other. And doing this work that I've been doing for thousands of hours for hundreds of clients over so many years, it just develops more and more, because one of the things that brings that out in me is that my very approach is not to indoctrinate or impose something on you, but to invite and encourage you to express and emanate outward comfortably with me whatever is within you. So I'm open to that. I'm not getting in the way of that. I'm encouraging that. The very nature of the approach that I work with you in a session with is we take whatever is arising through you. I'm not here to redirect your attention. I'm here to invite and encourage you to recognize what is dominating your consciousness, what is arising through you. And that's a big part of it. Also makes what we do so effective in providing the sweeping and pervasive changes of how you are that you're seeking. Again, the point I want to make in this little video is how I'm using what we call telepathy as a tool, getting your feelings and your thoughts that you are actually emanating, that are here present, because I'm just open to having them and receiving them. And this has more and more grown to be a bigger part of what goes on in the sessions and makes them that much more life-changing. So bear that in mind, that's part of what makes this work, what we're doing. And I have trained quite a few people in the techniques, but what I believe is at least equally as important as understanding all the techniques, the approaches, and the hows and the whys and the mechanics, at least as important in being effective in helping people and guiding people this way is who you are in doing this work, if you're conducting the sessions, I believe it's even more a matter of the passion and intention of the person conducting the sessions. It's not something you can really train into or teach a person. And there are those people who have that ability, and they can make various techniques and methodologies work better than other people. And they're more representative of their intentions and abilities than they are of the methodology. And with myself, I think it's 50-50. But anyway, part of the magic, and it is magic, magic is spiritual creation, spiritual ability, just the ability to have or create or understand or transcend that which is relevant. And we all have unlimited potential with such things. And my purpose is to help you to fully realize yours and accomplish that. So that connection, that telepathy, that feeling and getting your feelings and thoughts and recognizing what is within you and what is there on the surface that's arising and coming out, greatly facilitates the progress of the session, as any of my clients has come to recognize. And it's very important. So it would be incomplete. I'd be remiss if I didn't make it very clear that that's part of what happens in these sessions. There is approach, there is technique, there is recognition of the mechanics of what we impose upon ourselves and how we create ourselves and how we uncreate all the filters and layers that are getting in the way of our potential. And a big part of this is the ability to recognize that and to reflect that back so you can more fully recognize it, help raise your consciousness of what is within yourself that is arising to be recognized and processed. So that's what you can expect will happen in our sessions. And of course, you can always reach out to me through my website, dexsessions.com, DEXSESSIONS.com. Go ahead and give it a try and start accomplishing the changes that are there to be had.